Gentlemen, we're back on Agency Exposed. How are you? How are you? How are you?
Good. I like that.
Yeah.
We're at the wood.
We're at the wood table. We're at the. Should we start calling it the oak table?
The oak table.
Yeah, sure. I don't think it's oak.
How are you guys doing today?
Good.
All right.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm excited about this topic today because it's one that all of us are dealing with, reveling in, hating, enjoying,
Planning.
Planning, depending on where you are on it. Let's talk about outsourcing and remote work from home, work from anywhere.
Yeah.
How is that affecting your
Pros.
agency, your work life, your health, mental health, etc.?
Pros and cons.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, you have no choice right now, right? So,
How much of your, let me ask you this question. How much of your business dealings deal with people remote that work with you or work for you?
work for me or clients?
Not clients, but
Remote clients.
teams.
It used to be, it's probably, I don't know, somewhere between 25 and 50%.
Yeah.
Now, there's hybrid people.
Yes, that's what we have.
So if you include hybrid now, it's a lot more percentage.
Yes.
So almost everybody's hybrid. Like I'm hybrid.
You look
Yeah.
like a hybrid.
Yeah, half.
He's becoming.
I'm half beast, half man. Just watch out.
Yeah. We all are.
Winter is this season.
I'll get you.
I'm a tri-bred.
Yeah, we're hybrid. We're hybrid. We are hybrid in the sense of it's more of a policy that now you can work hybrid and 2 days a week, Mondays and Fridays. It's a work from anywhere day.
That's kind of what we do.
And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's people were in the office. So it's a hybrid. And then we have the only person I think that doesn't live in the area is one of our video editors. And so he is totally remote and maybe a couple of contractors. But in general, it's local people, but we have a hybrid schedule.
Yeah, I mean, what we do is we let people set their schedules when they're in, when they're out right now.
Mm-hmm.
But we coordinate our team to be in around the same days. And so actually Friday for us, everybody's in, and mostly for all the stuff that you can't do remote, like remote is the flexibility is really great and nice. And we want to keep that. But I mean, you don't realize that you need to see people.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need the team aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so Friday is when we do all that stuff. We go out to lunch together. We, let's do some celebrations and those kind of things. Obviously we work. But Monday through Thursday, you can pick the days that you're in and we'll try and coordinate those. So usually for me, I'm usually in Tuesdays and Thursdays, maybe Wednesdays, usually at home on Mondays. Because Mondays are great because like you can start the week off and typically there's a ton of stuff to do and a lot of planning and more like I would say quiet work, right?
Yeah,
So
that's what I do.
yeah. So we start the week off kind of focusing more than being distracted. We always start every day with a stand-up, which we can talk about. That's one of those, if I had, a handful of secrets that change things, like that daily stand-up is one of those for us.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so every day at 8:45 we have a stand-up, and it's supposed to be 15 minutes. It's where everyone comes to the table, and everyone brings their top 3 things. It tends to be a little bit more that they need to work on, they need to accomplish that day. The goal is to bring what you will accomplish, be very realistic, not like, oh, I can do that and I can do that, but like what are the things that
The
you
tasks
will complete, Yeah. Like
Now,
the
is
actions.
everybody on your team on that stand-up even listening to things that they don't have they're not participating in?
Not everyone on our team, but all the leadership of our team.
Got it.
That's good.
And so they come with that, and then our ops manager kind of runs the whole thing, and she knows exactly like what needs to be delivered, schedule, those kind of things. And so we'll collaborate on issues in the stand up. So that's an important part of it. We'll also get on the same page. So if someone's if I come and I have 3 things that are not aligned with what actually needs to happen that day, we will have a discussion, usually prompted by her, about rearranging those. But and we try and keep it to 15 minutes. Like that's the goal. Is like it's very quick, very short. We've extended them a little bit, and since we've gone remote because we don't see each other as much, and so there's like a human aspect of it that a little conversation and stuff. But in general, it's short and quick, and it makes everyone keeps everyone on the same page and keeps everyone starting at the same time. Now, to me, before we had that, we had guidelines. Obviously, here's when you come in, here's when you start, do your work, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know how we operated before that. Like we've been doing this for over 5 years, but there's no, if you don't have something like that, I feel like there's no start line. Like if you're playing, if you're a professional athlete and like it's game time, right? There's, a time when you get there to practice and warm up, right? And then the game starts at a certain time. I feel like with business, it's the exact same thing. Like let's say 9 a.m. is when the game starts. We can't have people rolling in at 9 a.m. or we can't, have people rolling in even if it's earlier and just sort of like, oh, I'm going to get coffee now. Like no one is on the same page. If we're a team, there sort of has to be like a same page. And so this thing was meant to get everyone on the same page rather quickly. And everyone has the same starting line.
That's good.
But that's helped with
and you do that daily.
We do that every day. And with the
do it over
it's
Zoom.
helped tremendously. We've moved to Zoom even when we're in the office for people that are not there.
Yeah. That's good.
But yeah, it used to be right here downstairs, all around, just in the big room downstairs. But man, that's helped a ton, and especially when we're remote. Like I don't know how we would have done remote very well. Like I think it's way more important if you're remote, because you just don't know when the starting line is. You don't know when you're on the same page.
Yeah, it's I find it interesting that since everything's happened through pandemic and everything else, that just companies in general are rethinking how they're doing their I guess employee or team engagement. And I guess I'd love to talk a little bit about what remote looked like before 2 years ago and what it is now. I think everybody's opinion has changed. We've been forced to do it, but remote work was the domain pretty much exclusively of, I guess, outsourcing, to maybe overseas, which we'll talk about in a second. But it was also, you would hire a contractor for a short term, or maybe you did have someone, or maybe you were that kind of progressive, forward-thinking person that had a totally remote staff and team. But it wasn't the norm, right?
Yeah.
I think there was that understanding that, well, that's obviously not as productive. You can't engage. You can't have that team atmosphere.
And there wasn't the platforms for like with the gig economy and the Upworks and all, all these Fiverr or things where you could hire, or, so that it's just it's part of the culture now. So it's all kind of merged together. It's like you've got COVID, you've got these platforms that people can use to even find more work. And so what do you think, Bob, your team remote is percentage that you don't ever, they'd never come into the office. Maybe they don't live around.
Yeah. Like I said, that we're unique in that most people live in the area. So we do get together at least twice a month for team meetings, even though Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, most people are in the office anyway.
Yeah. It's
just Monday and Friday, our hybrid, work from anywhere days. And then we do have one person that lives out of the state. But because we try to hire locally as much as we can.
Yeah.
It's just what works for us. And
yeah.
But we're not opposed to, if we find a candidate that we absolutely love and we want to hire, we're totally open to the out-of-state thing. But it's just because of the uniqueness of who we are as an agency. But I know you have team members that are in Romania, right?
Yes, yeah. It's a family family affair. It's a relationship that, man, is probably trying to think how long we've been working with our team. 15 years.
Wow.
Maybe more. So when I was living in LA, long story short is I had an opportunity, a friend of mine, he was American, he worked for the automotive industry, and his expertise was to develop software developers and R&D developers in kind of emerging markets. So he spent time all over the world doing that. He was last doing that in Guadalajara, Mexico, but he'd go to these little hot spots, especially tech hot spots. So he worked for Siemens, which is their automotive arm, and so he was in a town called Timișoara, Romania. It's known as Silicon Valley of Eastern Europe, really, at that time. There's 3 major universities there, and they're all tech universities, so a lot of tech coming out of that. And now all European, Western European companies, BMW, all the automotives are there because it's a really bustling tech town now. But anyways, when I worked, when I was doing a lot of work when I lived in LA, I working specifically with Disney on a project and a long-term project, and we had a lot of tech to develop around it. So he's like, hey, I can put together a tech team for you here if you want. And so we did, and started with a couple of guys that, and grew from there. So we've been like a family. I go over there from time to time and break bread and hang out with everyone and just kind of get, there's more of instead of seeing each other on Zoom calls, we see each other face to face at times. And it's worked awesome. It's not we don't do all of our development through the team. We do local development as well. Because our agency we'll do content and a lot of content development when it comes to tech, a lot of UI and front end and strategies and funnel strategies. But as far as our deep development of the actual software and programmers and developers in that area, and so they're like family, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's worked out really great. There was initially some challenges of the culture, but those have kind of gone away just because of so much of our team is younger, and there's no real cultural barriers whatsoever, and no communication barriers. They speak fluent English. And in fact, a couple of our guys, you would never know, they're not almost Americans. They don't even hardly have they don't have the British accent or anything. That you ask them, well, how do you sound so American? They said, well, because we grew up watching cartoons from America. They watched all the cartoons, so they've been watching cartoons since they were 2 years old, and so everything's in English. And at first, it wasn't dubbed in Romania. They had to they just had subtitles in Romania. So they learned English and they learned how to pronounce things, and of course, the internet and cultures and stuff like that. So it's been great. It is. I think the challenge is that I don't know that I would do it today in today's environment, especially just because of the economies are changing too. So there's times where it may not be as financially viable. It's just like hiring a contractor at times. Like, if you're hiring a contractor for a certain role and they're charging $150 an hour for their expertise, you're like, oh man, I don't, our business is people, and that's how we make money by, we don't a lot of times produce widgets or anything. We're not in manufacturing. So sometimes when you hire these expertise, you just literally can't bill them out for much more, so your profit's less. And so from a business perspective, it's always challenging of using those, but we have a tight knit. There's a lot of knowledge that we share now with them, and they share with us. And so I think that knowledge would be very difficult for a lot of our clients and systems that we built for our clients to replicate, or to find someone to take over a whole different team. I think it would take a year to get some of these teams up to the level that our team is up and knowledgeable of things that we've built that we still service and manage and things.
What about your local team?
The local team is mostly development as well, and they're good. They're a little.
You guys hybrid right now?
What's that?
You guys still hybrid?
Oh, you mean my local? Yeah, the local team. No, we're in the office. We do Mondays and Fridays. We're flexible. Sometimes I go in the office on Fridays. I typically on Mondays am home in the mornings, and sometimes I go in the afternoon or if I stay home. But on Fridays, it's flexible, and I'll go in the office sometimes. Today, I'm not going in. I'm gonna do a few other things at home. And it's like, what you said on Mondays, it's really good because I like the quietness to be able to plan my week and kind of knock some things off before I get in there and start talking to people in the office. But I do like the face to face. I think there's a part of me that it feels very disconnected on Zoom. There's something about me that I just can't even, it's just not. There's like an energy that I get when I sit across somebody. And I think I just like people to hear me ramble in person.
They can cut you off on Zoom.
Yes, that's right. No, I read I can't. I've realized how much of my communication is so much energy and body language that I still, even if you see the face on Zoom, you still, you don't feel it. And I don't know. I just like that. And there's something I like brainstorming and whiteboarding, and I can't brainstorm well on Zoom. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, because you can't.
I'll talk to my therapist about that.
Well, no, I mean, like it's not natural, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
It's just not natural. So.
Yeah, so our team. I mean, our team really. If you look at our whole team, we're probably 50% remote. I mean,
do you guys do anything? What's the start of your days like? Like, how do you guys wrangle a team and get going?
Well, my start of my day is not going over projects. That's not what that's not the part of my business.
Probably a very good thing.
That's not the part of my business the daily projects that I really want to concern my time with. And north should I, because I can't run a business and also it's like asking, Tim Cook to go work at the Genius Bar at one of his local stores. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel sometimes.
No, as the leader, there need to be people in projects and people not in projects. That's how the business works, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
But I do get involved, and that's not, I just get involved in more of the strategy stuff, more than the day-and-day, like accountability of getting stuff done. I've got two people that I have that I really trust, and they're really good at that. And so I've really delegated that part, and they keep me up to date. So every Monday I get a sheet. I get a sheet of projects, a spreadsheet or projects, and exactly where everything is. And we also have use Asana for project management. But I just get a cheat sheet that says, here's all the projects this week. Here's projects total in agency. Here's where they are. Here's where all of the, it's just a big cheat sheet for me. So then I can kind of go through it, and I know where some of the projects are, and I know where some of the projects may need me to be involved a little more. And then at certain projects, we'll go through them with a project man. I'll go through them with a project manager and questions, and we'll start setting up the week. For me personally, we'll set up the week of what projects this week that I need to schedule. Everything I do is completely scheduled like everyone else, but I want to make sure that I give people time of my time, so I don't schedule them out, because I will schedule them out. Like I'll literally start putting stuff in my calendar, and I won't leave room for my employees to deal with things with me. So that's kind of in a nutshell, that's kind of my weekly. I mean, it changes a little bit from week to week, but
yeah, I was just curious, like how so it sounds like the two people on your team collect everybody and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing every single day.
Yeah, I've got an operations and project manager, and then I also work, with our financial controller. We meet once a week and go through projections, what things, any invoice issues, stuff like that. So,
Bob, what do you guys do?
Well, what
does the beginning of the day look like?
Yeah,
at 5 to 5.
I think we have a whole system set up, so we're at like 40 people in our office, and then on the digital side, there's 5 of us, and so, but agency wide, we use a tool called Excello, and then we have a traffic manager that manages all the tasks and processes for all the different projects. So whatever's going into whatever we're doing for a client, whether it's the creative department, the digital department, the research department, they're all in a template type process for tasks. So at the beginning of the day, I mean, I don't have necessarily a daily stand up, or I don't have to get people going. Everybody knows exactly, with the processes we have in place, exactly, like, these are the tasks that are on my docket. Here's, where I have my openings to schedule. And then we're all connected via Google Calendar. So I can see everybody in the agency, what their availability is and what their calendar is every day. So if I need to schedule time, or we need to go over projects. But when I'm in the office Tuesday through Thursday, we have our own wing, our digital wing.
Yeah, you guys have like your little kind of...
Yeah. So I can step outside my office, and all my team members are there. And so we're kind of collaborating on a regular basis. On Mondays and Fridays when we're remote, or whoever chooses to be remote, we usually just schedule our meetings on Zoom. I usually have a weekly digital huddle where we check in with each other, but we work so closely throughout the day on various projects that it's not like we check in once and then we're gone and we don't see each other. So that works for us because we're all connected in a one big, I guess you call it a brain of, okay, here's all the tasks, here's what we're doing for all client, and everybody's task is accordingly. So I can see at any given time, as a leader, what members of my team are working on. If they've missed a task, or it's taking them too long, all those things we can all kind of get together on. But as far as I think what you're getting at is, like, how do you maintain a healthy culture, team atmosphere, all those things in a hybrid environment?
Yeah, I was just curious, like, right, I think that's the next side of this. Like, it's so hard. It can be, unless you're really intentional, it'll sneak up on you. And all of a sudden you'll have, look, if you're on a team like one of our teams, and you're just checking in and out every day on a Zoom call, on your computer on a Zoom call or whatever, there's very little, and culture is not even the full word, but there's very little like connection that happens there, right? And you might as well be doing that for just about anybody.
I think you have to be intentional, and I think you gave a good example of, okay, on Fridays we're going to get together, we're going to go to lunch, we're going to do whatever. I mean, there's tools, they're not perfect, but we're a big Slack environment, so we have lots of different Slack channels that teammates, team members can engage with. And I think that's really important to be super intentional about that. And so, we have Slack channels that are just silly, like, heard at 5x5, right? So it's like something really silly somebody said in the hall. And so those will just pop up throughout the day. So, you'll have stream.
Can I get on that channel?
Yeah. Or we have a hashtag mental health channel, where cool. Someone's putting stuff in like, hey, I've been thinking about this, or I read this article, or, just things that engage your team on a daily basis, no matter where they are. They're connecting, they're being human, they're joking, then there's work, there's, shout outs, whatever it may be. So using tech, to connect each other in that way, and being intentional about what are the things that we can do, whether it's tools, whether it's Zoom meetings, whether it's stand-ups, whether it's coming to the office once a week, to keep that culture going. And I think that's really the key to it working.
Yeah. It's just hard with technology though, right? Like it's sort of like watered down. Like you have to find ways to.
Sure. I mean, there's no better thing than being in person.
Right.
Do you think that with Zoom, there's actually less wasted meetings now than there used to be in person? Because, you used to get together, maybe there's 3 or 4 people meet in a conference room, and you wait for somebody, and they're all like, I get coffee. And, then they sit and chat about their day. And next thing you know, 15 minutes later, you're in it. And you feel like that's,
I think so.
People are just more intentional with their time, maybe?
I think so. I've been on a lot of wasted Zoom time, but,
yeah.
But at the other side of the coin is, I agree. I think it's made us, counterintuitively, has made us more efficient for so many of us, we realize, that driving up to the office, the drive back, the getting settled, the talking to people in the hall, the wasted meetings. There's for most people, hybrid work has been much more efficient. I think that's what we found, because I think old school thinking was if I don't micromanage people, I don't know what they're doing. They might actually take half a day, or they might go party, or they might go work out when they're supposed to be in the office, or they might be taking care of their kids. Well, guess what? As long as people are getting their work done and they're efficient, does it really matter?
And I think we may see more studies, concrete data come out that says if you allow people to have more flexibility, feel healthier about themselves, that they actually do better work and quicker.
Absolutely.
So then,
there's already a ton of that.
Yeah, there's that, and the results are just better in general. So it's
And I think too, and not to open another can of worms on this, but it goes in line with this topic of, call it the Great Migration, call it whatever you want. The freedom for people to live wherever they choose to live might just be, like you said, you'll get better work out of people. They can be more productive. They can feel better. If you don't have to live in a certain city simply because of your work, then go live where you want to live. And if it's out in the country by yourself, then go do it. If it's on the beach, if it's in the middle of a big bustling city, do what works for you and what gives you the most energy and joy and mental health, because that's where you're going to be the most productive. So I think we're learning as people that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing that for sure. And so if you had to build your agency again from scratch.
Sometimes I feel like I'm doing that a lot.
Yeah. And you've done that 3 times this year. I'm just kidding.
Feels like it.
This is a topic I'd like to pose for another podcast overall, but just in the sense of remote versus in person versus completely contracted, hybrid, whatever that is. If you had to start from scratch, like, would you choose everyone in person? Would you, just have a hybrid where you have people everywhere?
I think for me, a couple key leadership roles would be in person for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I just feel like you
need to see someone and be meeting them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as far as if I had a partner, which I don't, but if I had a partner, for sure, somebody that I see in person a lot.
Yeah. I think that's where I would go to. I think I would have the leadership locally, if possible.
The very top leader. And I'm not talking about if your agency's large, let's say it's 50 people, then some of the leadership can be elsewhere. But the 1 or 2 or 3 people, key leaders in your business, I think that I would like to see them face to face a few times a week.
And that would beg the question then. The money we spend or that gets spent. Now, listen, a lot of people listening are freelance and or small and already remote, but there's also, small and large agencies as well.
Yeah.
Like the money that gets spent on offices.
Yeah.
Is that good? Is that money well spent for an agency?
Well, I mean, if you're an agency, I think, and Bob, you probably have some experience in this too, because I think when you ran your agency, did you own your office? I think trying to own real estate instead of paying rent to somebody, it's not always, you can't always do that. But once you get to the point where you can actually own your office, or at least have real estate.
We're getting into Brad's investment corner.
No,
this is good. This is good. I like it.
And I think it is on my mind right now, because we are looking for our business of okay, should we continue to pay rent? Because we're paying rent in a building, and we like the environment a lot. It's really cool. There's coffee shops and restaurants and all that stuff, and more coming in. And it's nice to have that. So it's nice for everyone else. But I'm also personally looking at it as I'm giving a lot of money to someone else that I could give to myself and rent, or have a building that we own at some level. So, or working to own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, acquiring assets definitely is
Yeah.
important. But I just, most agencies probably rent. I know even the bigger ones do, and big corporate offices.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
those kind of things.
and I mean the thing is, it's all what your plan financially is for your business and long term plans. So, but I think with real estate, obviously, I would have to assume that a lot of these commercial buildings are not as full as they used to be. Even still, they're not filling back up because people are going to be working remote. That's kind of the future. So those folks have to rethink the way that they offer office buildings. And but I am a believer a little bit in these workspaces. Bob and I live in the same neighborhood, and they open up a common workspace right in the neighborhood. And so there's probably people that pay for that and use it, but they only live a few blocks away just because they have families and kids and they just can't focus, and they need a place they can have a conference room and bring.
I find we're in this middle ground. People are individually, and also businesses are, like myself, where you can't live without it. You can't have no office, and you don't want. And you may not need it completely, right? Like, we're hybrid part of the week. Now, but we can't. What are you gonna do for the other part? Like, or the one day a week, if you choose to be in together, like, you need a space. And yes, there are e-spaces and other kind of like shared workspaces where you could gather and do that. It actually becomes almost as costly to do that pretty quickly as it does to rent an office
I was
space.
telling my wife.
Same if you work at home,
Yeah.
right? Like you said, like, you could work if you're remote, like, you could work in your bedroom or your closet or your office in your house, or whatever it may be, as nice or as little as it may be in your house. But over time, it's like, that's my house, and I'd like to get out of it.
Yes.
Whoever you are.
I was telling my wife last night, we were walking, and I said, I really have this itch if we, the next house we buy or wherever we move, I want to have a big enough backyard that I have a really nice work shed that inside of it, it's like, it looks kind of rustic, but inside is nice. It's got my desk. It's like, could be a writing space. People can come over. If I want to have a client or two in there, I can. But just a nice little separate building that is
And you're smart, because
office.
separate structure.
That's called a she shed.
Exactly.
Well, what's interesting
You want a
is
she
you
shed,
mentioned
Exactly,
a
I
work
do.
shed.
before our podcast, you were mentioning that. Is that a she shed? Whatever you were showing me, but
No, she shed is that was a house. So she shed is like
Oh.
a small, like, little,
okay,
like, outdoor.
I'm not
like,
hip on that
like
stuff.
little mini office.
Sorry, I grew
outdoor.
up in Queens, New York. I don't know what the heck that is.
She shed.
So
it's the opposite of a man
A
cave.
she shed is like something that might not have like running water or bathroom, but it's like like a nice little home.
what
It's
I've
mini
noticed,
home,
to
mini
your
home in the back.
point, is I noticed it on the company Autonomous that make the desks, right? They had this little it was like a build your own shed, like it was an office that was basically a shed. You build it yourself. It was like $15,000. I noticed that a few months ago they had this on their website. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, you just run a power cord, you literally put it up yourself. So it's clearly for the work from home movement that want a separate space. And then I just saw yesterday, because I get these Costco emails, like, Costco's got one.
Do they really? A work
Yeah.
shed? Like a...
It's like
Does it have like a little heater air conditioning unit? or-
$15,000, got all the HVAC inside of
Really?
it. You build it yourself.
Yeah, it's like a
And it's got
kit.
the footprint that can fit in most backyards,
Nice.
Well, I'll check that out.
So, but that's an interesting trend, right?
Yes.
Like, there's a need for like $15,000 is a lot of money if people are spending, but it's not relative to buying a new house that has an office wing.
Or renting, for getting
Yeah.
into a 5-year lease,
Correct.
2-year
Exactly.
lease.
The thing is what I'm wondering too, and I think we should maybe unpack this a little bit. Should our employers going to expect some payment?
Brad, I'm going to tell you right now, if you tell me that I need to
What?
pay for people to have a $15,000 she shed in their backyard, I'm
Yeah.
going to shut your mic off right now.
But there should be, but there will be
Some
stipends,
allowance
some stipends
for like
or allowance.
Wi-Fi,
Yep. Yep.
and desk, or even like monitors and stuff. And then what happens is, if you start buying equipment that stays in people's homes, what about liability if there's a fire and things are different in that way. So I don't know. I mean,
I don't think anyone has that figured out.
We haven't got to the point where we're giving stipends specifically for the heat and then, or can people somehow, I don't think there's a tax law by it right now. If you have your own business, you use a tax law, all right, you can take a portion of your house and you can write off the portion that you would use for your business. So if you're using 200 square foot office in your home and a computer and all that stuff, if you're a sole contractor, like a 1099, you can write all that off. But if you're an employee and you're doing that and working from home, you probably really can't write that off. You might want to talk to your tax advisor about that, but
I don't think you can. I wouldn't be surprised if tax law changed a little bit.
But it might change a little bit, because if you're paying for that out of pocket, it's an expense that you pay for your income. So that might change too. Who knows?
The question is, though, that I have is, there's two ways to look at it. I'm not saying you have to, but like, have costs increased because of that at home? Like you have internet at home, right? Yeah. So like you haven't paid more for it because you're working from home.
Well, it depends. I mean, depending on people's internet plans, it's like you have a set amount of data. Or
I'm just saying, if there's a clear cost increase, like I could see like a little bit more of like a pain point that arises, but I don't know if that's happening a lot.
Well, my son's Fortnite game isn't acting the same since I started doing all the Zoom calls.
That's definitely true.
But
Dad, it won't work.
Yeah, I mean, you might have to beef up your internet speed or something, right? And some people don't have offices at home.
Yeah,
so they have to like carve out a little space and impede in their families. I mean,
I've actually found, this is the poll of my people. I don't know what you guys find, but what's interesting is I found that people don't want to be at home. But they also want to not have to be in office. Yeah. Like there's this, I think people are undecided.
We call it work from anywhere. We don't call it work from home.
Right. But okay, but I think my point is like, I feel like there's this middle ground that people are in that they can't figure out. They want to be told a little bit, because I kind of want to be at home, but I don't like being at home every day, and I like the idea of not having to be in the office like straight 9 to 5, which I think doesn't make a lot of sense either. So that's why we don't do that.
Oh, that's what a coffee shop is for.
And then you got the Starbucks. You got Starbucks, which you can't find a table now.
I know.
But arguably, from a productivity, especially in our line of work, which is creative and ever changing with different clients. That's actually a healthier environment, meaning I like personally, again, depending on your personality and what you do and what you like, but I like to mix things up. I don't like to have the same thing every day. And it goes in line with what we do. Like, people hire us to come up with something different and unique and creative. And if we have a big book of clients, that's what we're doing every day. We're doing different things. Yeah. So to be in a static environment and not be consistent with what you're doing, it actually makes a lot more sense. So I think people are feeling that intuitively, whether they know it or not. It's like, for me, I love to be in a nice coffee shop with people talking all around me. I can tune it out.
And with your noise canceling earbuds on?
I'll put noise canceling earbuds in.
You just like the feeling that you're there's energy.
Yeah, there's energy.
Yeah,
now,
me too.
I know people that are like, how do you do that? If someone's talking next to me, I can't concentrate. So I think it's given everybody the freedom to match their personalities a little bit.
There's this little app, on that I have. I've had it for years. It's coffee shop sound app.
Did you put it on?
I put it on when if I'm dead serious, like no, like there's like like this like little chatter, and then every once in a while like the frothing sound of an espresso.
That's cool. Send me that.
I will. It's awesome actually when you're not in a coffee shop. It
Hold
works
on, I gotta
really
drink
well.
a sip of my coffee right now. Maybe Jones for my coffee.
There's Brad next to you gulping.
Yeah. So what do you? Let me ask you this question. All of this working out of coffee shops is great, but what if you're working on something that is is so private? Like, for instance, if you're marketing some campaign that you the public can't even see. Or you're working on financials and someone walked by you and saw something.
Or simply you need to be in a more professional environment for a call, which
Yes.
I think is a big reason why people can't do the coffee shop all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like,
you know what? We have a like a phone booth kind of style. It's specifically for private calls. It's like a phone booth in our office because we have a very open environment office. So just so that you can go in there and have a private conversation, completely soundproof. You could do a podcast in there or whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised if more and more of these coffee shops started implementing those, that just people can come and go and sit in those things and take a private call.
Yeah.
You know, because
For sure.
that would bring in more people if you had that. That's the downfall. I always see these people in coffee shops, and you can tell they get off their computer and they're going out the door on this outside just because they need a private call.
yeah.
And so it's
We're building on an extension in our office, and we're going to put in a couple of those.
Yeah, those are great.
booths.
Yeah.
Because I know you guys have one. It's really cool.
yeah, and you can talk about other people and nobody hears you.
Yeah, you can scream in there.
You can actually
vocal booth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scream therapy.
Scream there.
This has
Yeah,
been
you
a
do
good
that.
discussion, guys. We'd love to hear from our listeners. Reach out to us. Love to hear what you're doing from a workplace, hybrid, work from home, work from anywhere. Please continue to give us reviews. Give us 5 stars. If you anything less, don't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, make sure you subscribe on YouTube on these videos, even
Yeah.
though we don't have our 3 camera set up yet, but it's it's a good way to listen to the podcast. So even if you don't like to look at our faces.
Awesome.
Steal all the gestures I get from Brad all episode long.
Yeah. Well, I said,
the lewd gestures. You could stop. You could stop.
65% of communication is body language, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should see the body language that Brad does over here.
Woo.
Watch us on YouTube. You'll see. All right, guys. Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.